What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of That Dynasty Show. Today, our good, my good friend, our good friend, my good co-host, he recently did a startup draft. Looks like a one quarterback startup draft. And he sent it my way a couple of days ago. I said, "Oh, dude, looks pretty good." And he's like, "Yeah, should we do a video to review it?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it. Whatever." So Tyler, I'll let you go ahead and say hi to everyone. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so we can take a look at how you did.
Yeah, what's up, everyone? Glad to check in with you guys. Thanks for the recent support. We also just had our 2022 rookie mock video kind of just blow up over the last couple of days, so we appreciate that support. And one thing I will say is that one reason I think I succeeded in this draft was because I mocked a million times more than everyone else in the league. So this was 10-team PPR, one quarterback. So first, we'll go over a couple of trades I made. For starters, I moved up from the 108 to the 105. And in that trade, I moved back from the sixth round to the eighth round. So you'll see that ended up being Kyle Pitts and Allen Robinson that I got for Javante and Zeke, which I feel pretty good about. Mikey, I know you're a big Javante guy, but I think there's a pretty big gap, especially in one quarterback leagues, between having the tight end who just put up the best rookie season of all time and a running back who we have some question marks about in a timeshare. So, and then I think going from Zeke to Allen Robinson, I think I'm totally fine with that. They probably have the same shelf life as of right now. I mean, Allen Robinson's what 29? I think he just turned 29. Zeke's 26. I can imagine about 2 years at max production for both of those guys. So, how do you feel about that one?
It's pretty even for me. I kind of think I lean the Javante side ever so slightly. I don't have I don't have Kyle Pitts anywhere in any of my leagues because last year I did prioritize taking Javante over Kyle Pitts, and I wouldn't say that I regret it, but I also completely understand the hype behind Kyle Pitts. It's a supreme advantage, right? Because Kyle Pitts is what, 22, 23, and he, like you said, he just had the best rookie tight end season pretty much of all time. And if that's his floor, right, you can be pretty stoked. You're essentially going to get a guy that's going to meet those Mark Andrews, Travis Kelsey, George Kittle level of production, and he theoretically could meet that level of production for the next 7 to 10 years. Whereas Javante, we're going to see some elite level RB production. I think if not this year, definitely next year when Melvin Gordon's off the team. But we're only going to see that window for about 3 to 5 years. So I totally see where you're coming from here. It's not a bad trade at all. I would lean Javante, but like 51% to 49%. It's almost essentially a coin toss for me. As far as trading off Zeke for Allen Robinson, I mean that's whatever. I think Allen Robinson's going to have a really good resurgence with the Rams. I think Ezekiel Elliott is going to start to lose some of that workload, especially on third downs to Tony Pollard. So not the end of the world. I see here you ended up with David Montgomery and Josh Jacobs, and I don't think you need Zeke when you have those guys. I think Zeke still potentially has RB1 upside. He definitely still has RB1 upside. But if he loses those third downs to Tony Pollard, a decent amount of those third downs, then Zeke is going to turn into a really, I don't want to say touchdown dependent guy, but you're going to need 80 plus yards on the ground from him every week if he's going to be putting up the numbers that we're used to seeing for Ezekiel Elliott, if he does lose that receiving workload. So I don't think you lost this trade at all. I don't think you won it. I don't think you lost it. I think it's just a very split down the middle fair trade.
Yeah, I think this for me was more so go get your guy, and I felt like there was a big drop off at the 105 in terms of just the having one of those cornerstone pieces that you know you're going to build around for a very big duration of basically the entire lifespan of what your dynasty league is. I mean, I'll probably have Kyle Pitts. I mean, you hope that your dynasty leagues go on forever, but I'll have Kyle Pitts for a long time, and he's not a guy who is going to get hurt and his career is going to be over in the next 3 years. Javante, we never know. He could be one of those guys. I kind of just saw or felt like the way the board was going to fall. I was going to get stuck with a running back that I wasn't going to be happy with taking in the top 10 of a startup, even though it is one quarterback. And I also really liked those running backs in the later rounds, like you said, the David Montgomery, the Josh Jacobs tier over there. So now I guess we'll move on to the next trade.
Well, hold on. Before you go over that, just because this is really catching my eye.
Oh, this kid, he's
Bevy Hendricks, does he know this is a Dynasty League?
yes, he doesn't
And
care.
one quarterback, right?
Yeah, and one quarterback. He doesn't care. He wants to win this year, and I don't know. That was his thing.
Okay. I'm realizing he has 5 starting quarterbacks in a one quarterback league.
Yeah, so we got down to what round is that Rodgers and Hurts went? Like the 13th.
13th.
Yeah, we got down to the 13th round, and he just made the decision. He saw that myself, and like one or two other teams hadn't drafted quarterbacks yet, and he for some reason thought that he was going to get a lot of value by holding quarterbacks ransom, and instead I just took Kirk Cousins in the 17th round, and I was like, all right, I'm good with it. Yeah, no, I was looking for Jalen Hurts to follow me at one of those picks, but it was like whatever, I mean, they fell
Yeah.
really far, but the kid was just making an idiot move and probably just blew up his team for a while. I mean, granted, he missed out on Rashad White and those guys, but he didn't miss out on too much. He took them like really late, but still, it was really silly, on
That
his.
is very silly. And if I can offer one piece of advice for those of you that have a one quarterback startup coming up, you don't need more than 2 quarterbacks. You don't need to draft Josh Allen 11 overall. That's those are both very. I mean, trust me, I love Josh Allen as much as the next guy, but number 11 overall in a one quarterback, that is just
No, I
kind
mean
of absurd to
you would
me.
be happy with Jalen Hurts in the 13th round. It's like it makes no sense to me, at least, to go get one
Yeah.
quarterbacks. It doesn't make
I
any.
would take at cost if you tell me I can have Josh Allen at 201 in a one quarterback or Jalen Hurts at 13.8. There is no scenario where I'm taking Josh Allen at that price if I'm getting Jalen Hurts at 13.8, or even if I'm getting Rodgers and Tom Brady at 13.10 and 14.1. Like, hey, fuck it, I'll figure out my quarterback situation in a year or two. But
Yeah,
I
that's
just
what I was
I
say in a
I
one quarterback league. And you even look at Mahomes and Herbert in the third round. It's like I don't even want to pay that price either, or Burrow in the fourth. Like I don't.
Yeah, I had to sorry I interrupted you, but I just had to bring that up because the first thing that caught my eye was Derrick Henry at 110, which I was like, okay, I mean, like Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry, but he's also getting old, he's hurt. That's a little early. Then I saw Josh Allen, and when I clicked on him, I saw all this red on the board, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
But go ahead, tell us about your second trade that you made, because it looks like you did a lot of wheeling and dealing on draft day here.
Yeah, big time. As you can see, I had my first pick was the 105, and I didn't get another pick until the 410. And I had a bundle of picks in there. So I traded away the 203, which ended up being Austin Eckler. I probably would have taken Brees Hall. He was the guy who I was aiming for, but I got too good of a deal. I traded away the 203, which is Austin Eckler, and the 1403 in Derek Carr, which in a super flex league, like we said, would be a big deal. One quarterback league, who gives a damn?
Yeah.
I ended up getting the 504, which was Chris Godwin, and a 23 first and a 24 first. So that one,
Ooh.
I almost feel guilty about doing that trade. But
So essentially, it's Godwin, a 23 first, a 24 first for essentially just Brees Hall, and then I mean Derek Carr, his value in one quarterback is significantly lower than it would be, and that's a pretty good trade. I like
yeah,
that, and you
it
know
was.
me, I'm a big Chris Godwin fan, so I love that trade for you.
Yeah, Derek Carr, like the 14th round pick was literally a throw in that trade to make him happy. I mean, obviously, when I'm blowing him out of the water by that much value by getting 2 first round picks and a 26-year-old receiver who we've seen finish top 10 in points per game, I'm taking that even over my favorite rookie running back, who I love so much.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that sucks is like this guy drafted a pretty damn good team. I think it's going to be a late 23 pick for you, all things considered. But either way, in a vacuum, I think that's a pretty good deal on your side.
It's okay because I have a couple more of them. So in a 10-team league, I ended up with I think 423 firsts and 224 first. And in a 10-man league, I'm gonna get 4 out of the top 10 guys next year. So that's actually like almost that's a 40% chance to land Bijan Robinson in some point next year. So
Yeah,
thankfully,
and
I do have
I
heavy.
keep forgetting that this is a 10-teamer too. So that's also pretty damn good because we've talked about it on this channel a handful of times. There are 6 or 7 guys next year that are going to be pretty highly sought after. Now, granted, 2 of those were quarterbacks. So in a 1 quarterback league, we got to reduce it down to 5 or 6 here. But yes, still pretty good if you have 4 picks, and hopefully at least 1, if not 2 of them are going to be in that top 5 guys for you.
Yeah, and I think that would really just do really great things for this roster because I think I do actually have a couple really good supporting pieces in a start 10 league. So we'll move on to the next trade here, I guess, because that one was kind of a smash. Then I traded away the 403, which was DJ Moore, and the 1308, which was Jalen Hurts, and I got back the 510, which was Josh Jacobs, the 1201, Kareem Hunt, and a 23 first. So I basically traded away a young receiver for another young running back and a premium handcuff running back plus a 23 first. I felt good about that one, knowing that I was able to get 2 solid running backs in the 5th round there. So I just kind of made my moving back there and picking up a first next year was pretty important to
Wait, and
me.
this was for the 4-3 with DJ Moore there.
Yes.
Okay, I was just because I keep looking at the 308. I'm guessing there's another trade that you had done,
Oh, I missed
but
that.
but I was looking at that and I was like, oh, I don't know if I would trade Waddle for Jacobs in the 23 first, to be honest. But if it's DJ Moore, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that at cost. That's not bad at all. I think
Yeah.
in hindsight, it sounds so much worse because the 13-8 ended up being Jalen Hurts, which that is actually insane value in a 1 quarterback for Jalen Hurts, like we were kind of alluding to. But still, I mean, you couldn't have seen that coming when you had traded the pick. And either way, like you said, you have that 23 first, and we were looking at this guy's team. It's got potential for the first year here, but one guy goes down that's not a quarterback, his whole team is screwed. So you might have lucked out with getting one of his 23 firsts.
Yeah, honestly, I think he's going to finish in the bottom of the league, anyways. I mean, if Derek, even if Derrick Henry plays an entire season, right? I mean, then you're still looking. You just have Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. I mean, DJ Moore. I don't see Michael Thomas being out half the year, Devonta Smith, George Pickens being so. I don't see this team competing with most of the other teams in the league. So I'm thinking it's going to be a top 5 23 first.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think you got a pretty good value there.
So the pick we missed was the 308, Jalen Waddle. I got the 410, the 610, and a 23 first. So Deontay Johnson, Traylon Burks, and a 23 first, which I think is pretty good value for Jalen Waddle. As much as I love him, I mean Tyreek Hill's there, and I had a good offer. I knew I liked the receivers that were going to fall in either Deontay or Chris Godwin. Those were the guys I was aiming for.
You got both.
Yeah, so I mean, it kind of worked out really perfectly for how I wanted it.
Yeah, I like that trade a lot. As much as I like Jalen Waddle, Deontay Johnson, he was a top 10 wide receiver last year in PPR. Traylon Burks has all the potential in the world, and then squeezing out another first round pick to boot is pretty freaking awesome there. So that's a good trade. That's definitely a good trade.
Yeah, when you type in, so that's the last trade we'll go over. But when you type in all of those trades in total, so I'm giving away Eckler, Javonte, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, Zeke, Derek Carr, Jalen Hurts, getting back Pitts, Jacobs, Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin, Traylon Burks, Allen Robinson, Kareem Hunt, 323 firsts and a 24 first. I ended up winning that trade according to Keep Trade Cut by about like 20,000 points.
Just a
So,
little bit. Just a
yeah.
little bit.
So like 2 Jamar Chases, basically, who are the number 1 overall pick in this startup.
I'm curious, since you have KTC values open, who's valued more, Pitts or Javante, straight up?
Well,
That's got to
no,
be close.
no, I have to go.
Because I know Keep Trade Cut is set by the community, and I'm guessing
Pitt.
they've got to be really close.
Yep. So it goes Jefferson, Chase, JT, Pitts, and then Najee, D Swift, CD, and then Javante. So Javante's 8th, and Pitts is 4th. It's a difference of about 800 in value, 750 about in value.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I had a feeling I would be in the minority in wanting Javante over Kyle Pitts, but like I said, for me, that's still a coin toss, and that's coming from someone who's a big Javante Williams fan. So
Yeah, I mean, it just came down to longevity, you know. But so now, I mean, I guess we can just go through this pick by pick pretty quickly, and then we'll look at how the team stacks up at the end, right? So for me, the 105 was pretty fairly obvious. I was taking Kyle Pitts, moved up there to get my guy. I expected the guy at the 104 to take Kyle Pitts. He went CD Lamb instead. I was going to be happy if CD fell to me. He was probably going to be the last of that tier that I was going to be happy with. But I was stoked to get Kyle Pitts, and that made me feel pretty comfortable actually about trading away some other picks. I knew I got really good value at the 105, right? So then we skip down the board to my next pick with Deontay Johnson on the board. I mean, this one was a pretty big no-brainer. I was actually shooting for ETN here to be my running back one, but I wasn't upset at all when Deontay Johnson fell. Like you said, number one receiver last year, getting a new quarterback, which we think might be an upgrade, in Kenny Pickett. How do you feel about taking Deontay over DK? Is Deontay over DK in your rankings or no?
man, they're close. And I'm trying to think of how I did have them ranked when we went over it a few weeks ago. I think DK is ahead of Deontay in my rankings. I think I don't love the situation either one of them is in, with Deontay either having Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky, and then DK having either Drew Lock or Geno Smith. The situations for both of these guys could change drastically in the next year, mostly because if I had to pick two wide receivers that were most likely to be traded by the start of the 2023 season, Deontay Johnson and DK Metcalf would both probably be topping that list. Contract talks with Pittsburgh is already falling apart for Deontay. DK, I think, wants to stay in Seattle, but I think a year of struggling in Seattle this year could kind of change his mind. It's close for me. I think that I probably would have gone with DK, but again, this is one of those like insanely close ones for me.
Pretty much a coin flip. Yeah, so the contract thing kind of came into play here for me actually because it was almost a positive thing for Deontay, right? I felt like he was more likely to be moved, which is an automatic bump up in quarterback play no matter what, regardless if Kenny Pickett's bad. If Deontay Johnson's leaving, we know he's going to have a better quarterback than Ben Roethlisberger the year after. So I think Seattle's a little bit more likely to hold on to DK. Because like you said, the contract talks with Deontay haven't been going well, and they don't plan on really going well at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of factored into my decision making a little bit.
Well, and that's the thing with Deontay too. I mean, you saw what he could do with the shell of Ben Roethlisberger last year. Theoretically, he should be fine, no matter who's throwing him the quarterback, who's throwing him the ball this year. But George Pickens coming in, he's no slouch, right? He can make a pretty big impact his rookie year. So you never know what that is going to look like. It's a very crowded offense, right? Where in Seattle, it's DK and Tyler Lockett, and then I mean you can count Noah Fant as well. But in Pittsburgh, it's Deontay, Claypool, George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth. Najee Harris had like 80-something catches last year. So it's just a crowded offense, but I think that's going to change. And if I'm going to have any piece of that offense, unless it's Najee, it's going to be Deontay. So I'm not going to be upset with going Deontay over Metcalf. I will say I would take Godwin over both of them, but I see you got Godwin, so that's perfectly fine by me.
Yeah, so I mean, we know this from doing our mocks. The sleeper ADP is just so messed up, and that was how I ended up, getting I think I got a huge value on Traylon Burks and Jamison Williams later on too. Right, we can talk about that in a minute. But Chris Godwin, I thought just perfectly fit this build that I'm in here, where we have Deontay Johnson, who's going to be having a rookie quarterback. I traded out of 3 of my first 4-round picks. Right, I don't necessarily know that I'm going to be needing to compete this year or that I'm going to be in a position to do so. I felt like Chris Godwin, with his injury in the beginning of the year, he's going to put me in a position where I mean, if my team's panning out well, if Deontay Johnson is smashing as a wide receiver one again, if Juju is, blowing up, if, Monty and Kyle Pitts take steps up, then Godwin's going to come in and he's going to contribute and, add to my lineup. But I'm also going to be in a spot where I can just keep him on my bench and not let him contribute if I'm already, 1-5 or 2-4. So I feel like Godwin really fit the mold there. And I mean, like you love him for a million reasons, right? He's 26 and he's a guy who puts up top 10 numbers every time he's on the field, and he's in one of the most productive offenses in the league. Like, yeah, Tom Brady's going to be gone soon. Even before Tom Brady went there, the past 2 years, Godwin was still effective with what's his name, uh,
Jameis.
Jameis Winston, right? Yeah, Godwin as a young receiver, we still knew his name because he was young and efficient, right? So I'm really good with having Godwin for the rest of his career. I took him over Pittman, just because I think he's in a more higher powered offense. I mean, it might be more crowded over there in Tampa Bay with Mike Evans and Leonard Fournette, but I mean the Indianapolis offense just runs the ball over and over and over again. So I thought it was a pretty easy smash for Godwin then.
I just need to call you out because I mean, I know a lot of stuff has changed, but in our original video for our wide receiver rankings, and granted, this was before there were reports that Chris Godwin could be playing week 1, but I'd like to think I turned you into a Chris Godwin truther over the last few weeks, because I don't know if you remember, your original ranking for him was wide receiver 24. That sounds like a crime now, doesn't it, when you're thinking about it?
Certainly, yeah. I mean, it feels like it was probably reactionary, but I mean that's why we mock a million times, right? So we can make the right decisions when the money's on the table, But
Exactly. That
yeah, I
is
do have to
exactly
give
why
you
we do these.
you did put me on to looking into more of Chris Godwin and being happy to have him, definitely.
Hell yeah. Doing my job, baby. Doing my job.
So then we come up to the 508 here, and I still didn't have a running back at this point. So I was pretty hyped to see Monty and Jacobs follow me. Again, I mean, these aren't guys that are going to pretty much ever finish top 5 or be that electric, but I think they're both pretty solid, top 12, top 15 guys for the next 2-3 years. I think we could see Monty's workload really increase this year. And even though Josh Jacobs is going to be losing some volume and targets, he's not really a pass catching back, but, just volume of the offense to Devontae Adams, he's going to have a lot more touchdown opportunities as well. And I mean, he was the goal line guy for Vegas for the last couple years. I mean, I think 9+ touchdowns in how many of the last seasons, And also Josh Jacobs, only 24 years old. He's the same age as Najee Harris right now. Monty's only 25. These guys are still young and coming into their prime, and I think that they would be running backs that could help me either win now or later. So I think this is a really good example of like the first 4 or 5 rounds of a hybrid draft where you really traded back for the future and you have an opportunity to really put some studs on the field when it's time to win at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's the thing with these guys, right? So I currently have, and this was almost a month ago now, so I do need to retouch these rankings, but I don't think these are very far off. I had Josh Jacobs as my RB10 in Dynasty, and I had Monty as my RB13. The fact that you got both of them in the 5th round is pretty amazing. Neither one of these guys are hyper efficient by any stretch of the imagination, but Monty's going to Monty's going to catch passes. Jacobs is going to see a lot of touchdowns. Both of them are going to be hyper used this year, right? Like, you're looking at Chicago's offense. It's still coming together. They don't have a legitimate receiver room outside of Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet. David Montgomery, very obviously, is not going to split time with Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert tore it up last year when David Montgomery was out for a few games. People thought, oh, he's earned himself a role. No, Monty came back and took like 90% of all backfield touches. So again, not super efficient, but he's going to see 250 to 300 total touches. Josh Jacobs is going to be much in the same. They elected not to extend him, and it doesn't look like they're going to keep him after this year. They're going to run him into the ground, right? They drafted Zamir White, who some people are strangely high on. Couldn't be me. And they also have Kenyon Drake, who is really not a great football player. Definitely not as good as Josh Jacobs. Might be a slightly better pass catcher, but Jacobs isn't a bad pass catcher. He's just not known for it, right? But he's another guy. He'll be like David Montgomery. He's going to go out there this year. He'll get 250 to 300 total touches. Nothing hyper efficient, but the numbers are going to carry him into a top 15 finish. And if he plays as well as we think he can, I mean, he's in his contract year. He's going to get signed somewhere next year, and he'll be, even if it is a part of a committee, he'll be the RB1 of an offense easily. So I think you've got a very productive 2022 coming from both of these guys. 2023 gets a little hazy because we don't know what's on tap for Josh Jacobs. But at the end of the day, like, I'm perfectly fine with taking a chance on him, especially as my RB2 at the 5'10". I think that's very good value here.
Yeah, I think you made a really good point because a lot of the community is down on Josh Jacobs because he isn't getting that long-term second contract that we see a lot of stud running backs get. But like you said, I mean, he's still a young stud running back that somebody's going to sign and pick up. He's like, it's unbelievable to think that he's 24. It feels like he's been in the league for so long, compared to some of these other guys. But he is in that young age. He's a guy who's finished in the top 12 every year. I mean, I don't have it in front of me, but I know he's finished like as an RB1 every year. If not, maybe one year he might have been like the 13, 14 or something like that. But really in love with that. And when we look at Monty, I mean, his best season when he had that, I think he was a top 5 running back. I think he had 50 something targets.
Yeah, he was pretty up there at some point. Let's see here.
He
was number 4 in PPR in 2020.
Yeah, and I expect those targets to find their way back to him year in some type of way. So these guys, I think I got them really undervalued. I mean, you see guys like Leonard Fournette, who literally just came out of retirement 2 months ago. Aaron Jones, who's how old, 27, 28. I mean, some of these guys that are going ahead of him, I think it's a little bit crazy.
I forgot that Fournette kind of chattered about retirement a little bit, because I know that didn't he go to New England for a meeting just to like call Tampa on a bluff or something like that? I think I vaguely remember Fournette interviewing with New England. But regardless, before you move on to your next pick here, I'm going to call it right now. Josh Jacobs, he's not going to stay with the Raiders, and I want to ask how you would feel about this. He's going to go to the NFC East, and he's either going to replace Saquon when they don't re-sign him after this year, or he's going to replace Miles Sanders when he's no longer an Eagle after this year. I think he's going to the Giants or the Eagles in free agency next year.
Well, either of those landing spots would really suck. I wouldn't be thrilled about them. I would hope that whoever invested in him was a high-powered offense that was, ready to win. That's usually who you see invest in running backs, or I mean, I guess once in a while, you buy a running back to help develop your young quarterback. But yeah, I don't want to think about that. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, that's just my bold prediction. I had to make it here so that this way, when it happens this time next year, I can post this video on Twitter and be like, "See, told you guys."
Yeah, well, for now, I'm just happy to have my 24-year-old running back that's finished in the top 10 3 times. So
that's fair.
So then we come and wrap around, and I was so stoked about this one. Getting Treylon Burks. I don't know how you would feel, but how would you feel if I offered you Amari Cooper for the 103 in this year's rookie draft?
Amari Cooper for the 103? Yeah, I'll take the 103 in that deal.
What about Keenan Allen?
Depends. If my team is really awesome, I'm a top 3 team in the league, and I'm just one wide receiver away from being the creme de la creme, then yeah, I'll probably take Keenan Allen in that situation just because you know what you're getting out of him for the next year or two. But unless I'm already a top 4, maybe top 5 team in my league, I'm probably holding on to the 103 still.
And last but not least, what about Mike Williams?
103. 103.
I think I got tremendous value. I can't believe Treylon Burks it fell this low. I was so stoked. Again, a guy who fits the bill. Obviously, super young. I mean, he's a rookie, no shit. But perfect value here. I didn't think there was any way he was following me. When I was looking at the board after I picked Josh Jacobs, looking at this tier of wide receivers that went ahead of him, even all the
Chris
way.
Olave went before. That's surprising.
Yeah, Chris Olave went before him, even all the way back to Devonta Smith, Jerry Judy. I mean Drake.
Yeah, if I'm looking at the entire sixth round, and let me make it a little brighter here. Oops. Golly, sleeper, come on. So the sixth round, 1-for-1, I'm taking Burks over Olave, over Williams. I am probably taking him over Hopkins at this point in his career. Like I said, with Keenan Allen, could go either way. Definitely taking him over Amari Cooper. Drake London, I'm going to take over Treylon Burks. That's pretty obvious. Zeke, it's kind of a toss-up, but kind of still lean Treylon unless I'm in a win-now position. Definitely taking Burks over Judy, and I'm definitely taking Burks over Devontae Smith. So, yeah, 6'10", that's a really good value there.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it and it's like I don't think there's any way you'd be able to trade into the 103 this year for any of those guys. I mean, there's so many question marks around them. I was stunned to see him fall this late to me, and I was ecstatic about it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
So then we came up in the seventh round, and I got Pat Mahomes, number one receiver. Who's also a guy who is super young. I think he's 25 now, 26.
25, yeah.
25, finished in the top 13, top 15 twice in his career already. I think top 17, sorry.
Top 17 and then top 8, pretty damn good.
Yeah, so and I think he's in the best situation of his life. And again, I think when you look at the value, guys who were taken before and after him. I mean, I know a lot of people like Darnell Mooney. For me, I'm taking a shot on Juju. I'd rather Juju getting the ball from Pat Mahomes than Darnell Mooney getting the ball from Justin Fields any day of the week. Same deal with Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Marquise Brown, who's in a crowded wide receiver room. Again, I mean, I think I just crushed these guys. I don't know how I got value here. And then you talk about Jameson Williams falling again. I mean, Michael Thomas, who hasn't played in 2 years, and we don't even know where he's going to be playing, went ahead of Jameson Williams. So another good value pick here. And then I secured another wide receiver. I mean, we can start up to 6 wide receivers. So, I mean, you can see I took my 2 running backs and just smashed the receivers until it made sense to start taking some handcuffs. And I think I got some of the best ones. I mean, just looking back at the receivers we've talked about right now, Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, Juju, these guys have all put up top 10 seasons. So I'm pretty hyped to have all these guys without even having top 3 of my 4-round picks.
See, if I was able to get Jameson Williams at 8-3, I mean, you know me with Jameson Williams, I would just turn off my computer after I did it because I wouldn't need anything else. Like that is insane value when you think about it. Like Jameson Williams, yeah, I'm in the minority of having him over Drake London, but there are a ton of people that have Jameson Williams as the wide receiver 2 of this class. There are a ton of people that have him as the wide receiver 3. Garrett Wilson went almost a full round ahead of him. Treylon Burks went a round and a half ahead of him. Drake London went literally a full 2 rounds ahead of him. Like that's tremendous value here. And, we were talking about it in one of our other videos a couple weeks ago. Jameson Williams might have the highest ceiling of this entire rookie class. Like the sky's the limit for him. If he can put the speed together in the NFL along with, the route running and just getting open from really good cornerbacks, the sky's the limit. And getting him at 8-3, I mean, he is, in my opinion, he is potentially going to be like your top wide receiver on this team in the next few years. That's how much I believe in him. So 8-3 for a guy that I have in like my top 18 dynasty wide receivers. That is insane.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm big on Amon-Ra St. Brown, but getting Jameson Williams, like you said, 8-9 picks after him, I mean, it's just at the cost. I mean, I'm loving these guys where I'm getting them, and part of the reason that it happened is because I mocked so many times, and then, I mean, like you said, Jameson Williams could be the best receiver on my roster. I don't even doubt it, and I think I've got a ton of firepower here.
Yeah.
You look at Allen Robinson. I love A-Rob. I know you love A-Rob as a receiver. I think up until last year, there's nobody in the world who would have argued that Cooper Kupp is a better receiver than Allen Robinson. Um, I know nobody wants to talk about it because everyone loves what Cooper Kupp did this year, but Allen Robinson is a better football player, wide receiver than Cooper Kupp is. We can't just ignore the last 6 years that we've seen Allen Robinson outperform Cooper Kupp with what I would call worst quarterback play in Chicago, and just expect that Cooper
Hold
Kupp's
on.
another legendary season.
I,
I
I
think
can't let you say this.
Well, I think I'm
Listen,
going to finish what I'm saying because I think Allen Robinson is going to finish within a point and a half per game of Cooper Kupp this year.
all right, one, you're crazy. Two, you're crazy. Three, you're crazy. Listen, I love Allen Robinson. You can scroll back to like a year or two ago. I had an article that said Allen Robinson's going to be a top 5 wide receiver. He'll be a top 5 to top 10 dynasty asset in no time. And I really wasn't that far off because he went on to finish as like the wide receiver 6 or wide receiver 7 that year, and he was awesome. And then obviously he fell off. Dude, Allen Robinson is awesome. Right? Like he's very consistent. He's always been very good. He's essentially quarterback proof. But like Cooper Kupp was the wide receiver 3 overall with Jared Goff a few years ago. And then the year after that, that whole offense took a shit. And that's why Jared Goff got traded. And then I think Cooper Kupp was still like a top 25 wide receiver that year. And then he bounced back and had arguably the most prolific wide receiver season of all time. I mean, granted, he got an extra game, but like his season compared to even the best of like Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, T.O., like really fucking good season. And look, I love a good hype up on Allen Robinson, but he is not a better football player than Cooper Kupp. There's no argument for that. I'm sorry. That is insane. That's asinine.
I will vehemently disagree with you. I will say that Cooper Kupp, while yes, he did have the most prolific season of all time, no question. I'm not even going to put it up for debate. It was the best wide receiver season of all time. There's just no way he repeats it because Allen Robinson is so much better than Robert Woods. You can't even debate that. There's no way you can freaking debate that one. Allen Robinson is definitely going to be taking up a lot more volume than Robert Woods. It wouldn't surprise me to see Allen Robinson finished within 20 targets, 15, 20 targets of what Cooper Kupp's going to get this year and similar production.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you Allen Robinson is better than Robert Woods, but you just really making my blood boil, buddy.
It sounded like you didn't want to give me that one, so we'll just move on from
No, I'll give you that one. It's just I was too busy looking up Cooper Kupp versus Allen Robinson's stats here. So Allen Robinson's been in the league since 2014, Cooper Kupp since 2017. Let me just share this screen. It'll be a hell of a lot easier. Okay. Player comparison. Okay. So they're actually fairly similar, except where Cooper Kupp is much better. So Cooper Kupp, granted, there's a 29 game discrepancy, but still there's a lot of games to pick and choose from here. But yeah, Cooper Kupp averages more than 1 catch a game, almost 14 more yards per game, 0.2 more touchdowns. I mean, it took Cooper Kupp 71 games to hit 40 touchdowns. Took Allen Robinson 100 to do the exact same thing. 29 more games, and Allen Robinson only has less than 900 yards more than Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's a better wide receiver. I rest my case. Thank you. All right, continue.
Cooper Kupp has had Sean McVay, and Allen Robinson has had people worse than your uncles at the barbecue talking about football as a head coach. But like you said, let's move on. So we go to, I don't remember what round it is because I can't see the board yet. I think it's 13th round.
I'm sharing the screen here. Is it not working?
It's black for me.
Oh, okay. Well, I got it here on mine. So at 9-8, you took Calvin Ridley.
9-8, I took Calvin Ridley. Yeah, so that was definitely an overdraft, but I knew he wasn't falling back. When I looked at the board at that point,
can you see it now? By the way, I just reshared it.
Yes. So when you look at the board at that point, right? I'm looking at who can win me my dynasty league, who has the potential to be a number 1 receiver. The only one you see that's left on the board there is Adam Thielen, who is old. not much older than Calvin Ridley. But I mean, the upside when Calvin Ridley comes back, I mean, if this team pans out, just too much firepower. I mean, the guy was a top five receiver. Last time we saw him play a full season, I haven't looked at the points per game stats, but I know they're off the charts. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league, easily top 10 by talent. I think when he comes back, he could easily be top 10 by fantasy as well. I don't think there's any reason why if he comes back and proves that he's still got it, I don't see why he can't get drafted where guys like Devonta Adams and Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill are getting drafted this year because he's going to be in essentially the same spot. Guys who we know can put up top 10 seasons but are aging, and he's going to be right in that 28 years old boat with a guy who we know is a top 10 receiver.
Yeah, and we've talked about Calvin Ridley a lot in this show, so I'm not going to get too much into. I like that you acknowledge that 9-8 was kind of a reach on your part, because it's definitely a reach, right? If you're starting up to 6 wide receivers, presumably 2 running backs, a quarterback, a tight end. I mean, round 9, you're still grabbing your starters, and it makes me really nervous that you quote unquote grabbed a starter that's going to be out this entire year. I mean, like you said, if Ridley ends up panning out, then you're going to look back at it and be like, fuck it. I spent 9-8 on it. Like, it's pretty damn good. I wouldn't have taken him this early personally. It would have taken me a few more rounds before I even considered taking him, but I know how you feel about Ridley. So it's like, hey, go get your guy. I see here at 10-3, you took Christian Kirk. I don't love it, but like at the same time, it's not bad. He is the highest paid receiver in Jacksonville. He's essentially going to slot in as Trevor Lawrence's wide receiver 1, unless that becomes Travis Etienne somehow, right? I would love to see that. But yeah, it's not a bad pick. Looking at the wide receivers that went directly after him, Tony, I'm taking Kirk. Lazard, I'm taking Kirk. Ayuk, I'm definitely taking Brandon Ayuk over Christian Kirk. I'm a big Brandon Ayuk fan. But Dotson, Tolbert, David Bell, John Mechie, I mean, it's a bunch of rookies. Michael Gallup is probably going to miss a handful of games this year, and you already took Chris Godwin. So in a 1-for-1 situation there, all things considered, I'm probably taking Christian Kirk as well. I think that's half decent value at 10-3 since he's a real-life NFL team's wide receiver 1.
Yeah, so I think when I looked at my team, right, after I made the Chris Godwin and Jameson Williams selections, right, I now know that 2 of the top 6 receivers that I've drafted are missing half the season, right, or 5 to 6 games at the very least. So I wanted to put myself in a spot where I'd still be able to compete and just see how things panned out without having to tank right away. I thought Christian Kirk was going to give me the highest floor out of any of the guys on the list. I know you really like Brandon Ayuk, but there's a lot of really good talent in that San Francisco offense, and not a lot of great talent on the Jacksonville Jaguars offense in that receiving room.
That is true. That is a fair point.
Yeah, so I went with Kirk there. I think he's got a relatively stable, 12, 13 point floor. He's going to be, like you said, the number 1 receiver for Trevor Lawrence. So you pretty much read my mind with that one. And like I said, when I'm taking so many guys that I know am going to miss time, I mean, I kind of had to go with the high floor. I contemplated Chase Edmonds there, but I felt like that was also a reach, and I felt really good about where my running back room was at, and the guys who were still on the board in the later rounds that I ended up picking up. So I felt pretty
I'm
good.
surprised that Chase Edmonds, I mean, looking at this board, I'm surprised he fell all the way to 12-9, given all things considered. But I was going to, for a brief second there, I was going to kind of chew you out, because I'm like, dude, you have 10 wide receivers or 9 wide receivers by the 11th round here. Obviously, we'll talk about Chase Claypool in a second. I was like, why aren't you taking the running backs that are there? But I'm looking at who you ended up sneaking away with. Kareem Hunt in the 12th, Penny in the 15th, Gordon in the 16th, JD McKissick in the 17th. Like, it's not sexy, right? Like, all of those guys are old and hurt, but when they play really, really well. And you're never going to have to use them except for a bye week filler, essentially, maybe a flex here and there. And with those 4 guys on your bench, you will always have at least 1 running back filler. I know I'm kind of getting ahead of it here, but I really like how you drafted this team. I don't think I would have had the cojones to wait on getting an RB3 until the 12th round there, let alone my RB1 in the 5th round. So kudos to you. This draft board really fell to your favor, and you got a lot of really good value in here, man.
Yeah, I mean, as I'm just watching this draft go by, I saw so many people just married to the ADP that I was like, I knew that guys were going to fall to me, and it wasn't going to be until the guys in the league that were drafting with me saw their names at the top in the top 4 or 5 names of the queue that they were going to go off the board. So, I mean, I had that confidence. And also, I mean, like I said, just the million mocks that I've done, I mean, if I wasn't going to get Rashad Penny here, I guess I was going to go with Melvin Gordon there, and then I was going to look for whoever was on the board. I probably would have taken, J.D. McKissick right there back to back and said, let's see what happens. I wouldn't have given a damn about overdrafting because, I mean, those were the handcuff running backs that I really wanted. I mean, these are the guys that really I feel were reliable. I mean, Kareem Hunt, again, 26, Rashad Penny, 26, Melvin Gordon in a timeshare, one of the best handcuffs you can have, J.D. McKissick, high receiving floor. Marlon Mack looks like he's going to be the number one in Houston. Got him in the second to last round. So, I mean, I was in love with the depth running backs that I have. And guess what? If things don't work out this year, then I sell each and every one of them for a second round pick, and I find new handcuffs next year and figure out what I want to do. So I mean, I think I'm going to get more trade value for all these guys in season than almost anybody else you see that's on the board in the same rounds.
Yeah, I really like the thought process there. And one thing I actually want to call out because I noticed he went undrafted completely. So maybe it's a guy you might want to look into picking up on the waiver wire here. Nobody's talking about this, right? How long do you think Alvin Kamara is going to be suspended for?
Are you talking about Mark Ingram?
I'm talking about Mark Ingram. Dude, he
So
is look, he's like 31 or 32, however old he is. He's old as dirt. It is what it is. It's fine. But there are no other running backs in that system outside of what Tony Jones right now. I couldn't even tell you what that Saints depth chart looks like, but I know Mark Ingram is on it, and I know Mark Ingram loves the Saints, and I know the Saints love Mark Ingram. I think he's going to basically feed that fan base for I'm guessing Kamara is going to see about a 4 to 6 game suspension. Probably nothing more than that, but probably nothing less than that. And even if you're only getting production out of him for a month to a month and a half, Mark Ingram is a very sneaky RB2. We know he can catch the ball. We know he can run right through it. He's a fucking bowling ball. I'm kind of surprised he went completely undrafted through 21 rounds.
So you're gonna absolutely love this. So because Kareem Hunt is still so sneakily young, and Rashad Penny also still so sneakily young, I actually noticed that he was still on the board after the draft. Dropped Baker Mayfield after the draft, picked up Mark Ingram, hit up the Alvin Kamara owner, said, "Hey, you're gonna need a running back for the first couple weeks of the season. Take Mark Ingram for a second round rookie pick." Bada bing, bada boom, done. Got it done before the season. I didn't even have to wait for the production to happen. I just took it right away. Just made it happen.
That is fucking great.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought it up because I wouldn't have thought to bring that one up.
I need you to go pick back up Baker though, because he's gonna have a fucking year, and you
No,
need
well, I did. That's what happened, right? I picked him back right back after we did the deal within 5 minutes. Picked him right back up. I mean, no one was
cool.
dying for Baker. I took him at the third to last pick, anyways. So it's like,
Wow, you absolutely finessed that, man.
oh,
That is insane. I'm so happy for you.
yeah,
But
and
yeah, I'm look.
he dropped KJ Hamler that he took in the last round. He was like, all right, whatever.
Oh my God, that's a mess, but good for you. Yeah, I'm looking at the Saints depth chart right now. The projected depth chart for 2022 has Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, and then Tony Jones and Dwayne Washington. So yeah, essentially, if Alvin Kamara is suspended, Mark Ingram is going to see the lion's share workload back here. He theoretically could be a complete workhorse back for 4 to 6 weeks because he's obviously not the guy that you can rely on for an entire season, especially at his age. But I think the Saints could pretty confidently lean on him for the first month to month and a half of the season. So not bad. I had to bring that up because nobody's talking about him and nobody's drafting him clearly. So I wanted to bring that up, but I'm so happy I did because learning that you just picked him up, dumped him all for a second rounder. I mean, that's fucking awesome. So
Yeah,
we'll get back to it here because I know we got a little sidetracked. So back to 11-8. I see you took Chase Claypool here. Tell me about that pick.
So Claypool, again, was just a big. Well, so not again, right? Because Christian Kirk was the floor pick, but Claypool was a big upside pick. He also was kind of an insurance policy because I took Deontay Johnson so early. Um, because Deontay Johnson went off the board so early, I just had to take his backup. God forbid Deontay Johnson goes down. If Deontay Johnson gets traded, then Chase Claypool is probably the number one in that offense. unless George Pickens really picks things up there, you know. So really love Chase Claypool. I mean, he's a guy who can score 3 touchdowns in a game. He's a big body. He's really young, and it really wouldn't surprise me to see Pittsburgh commit to him if he can have a big role this year. It might end up hurting me, you know. I don't love having 2 receivers on the Steelers offense, but I mean, I don't think that Deontay is going to be there a year from now, in all likelihood. And I mean, it's just an insurance policy that's kind of got some really high upside, you know.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. And we saw Chase Claypool. What was it? Where is this? I can't find anything right now. As a rookie, he had 9 receiving touchdowns. I think he snuck in on the ground a couple times as well. If I remember correctly, he had double-digit total touchdowns. It's a great ceiling pick at this point in the draft. I'm not even a Chase Claypool fan. And looking at the board at 11-8, if I'm going for a wide receiver, I'm probably taking Claypool over the guys out of there. I mean, I would fight internally a little bit about Russell Gage, especially since you did take Chris Godwin, could have kind of offset a little bit. But like you said, Russell Gage is not the upside pick there, right? You're taking Claypool because the upside is that you're going to have Claypool and Godwin, where with Gage, that's kind of the safety pick, right? You're just kind of taking him until Godwin's back. So I like the thought process there a lot with taking Chase. And again, I'm not even a big Claypool guy. I think that's pretty good value for him. Kareem Hunt at 1201, that's really good value as well. I think if something happens to Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt is essentially a top 15, top 16 running back. In PPR, he's potentially an RB1. We've seen it before, right? If Nick Chubb's not playing and Kareem Hunt's going all out, he is really, really good. Now, Cleveland's kind of a scary situation because if Deshaun Watson does see a lengthy suspension, like if he sees a full year suspension, I kind of don't want to touch anyone in Cleveland. Like even Kareem Hunt at 12-1, I'd stay away from. But by the time, I don't think Watson's going to get a full season suspension at this point. And by the time you need Kareem Hunt, when your bye weeks are starting to happen, Deshaun Watson will be there and the Cleveland offense will be back to normal. Like you can see Cleveland's bye week is week 9. And well, you have Josh Jacobs on a bye week 6. That kind of blows, but it is what it is. But I think by the time Cleveland is back from their bye week, Deshaun Watson's going to be playing, and then Cleveland's suddenly going to have one of the best offenses in the league. So getting a chunk of that, really good at 12-1. I do want to ask you about 12-3, though. So I see Dawson Knox. Oh, duh, you took Kyle Pitts. I was about to say, I see Dawson Knox is the only tight end you have. How do you feel about that? But I'm really glad he's just your backup. But he's not a bad backup to have at all. I think 12-3 for Dawson Knox. There's a lot of upside there.
Yeah, I think I could have gone Cole Kmet there. I also think I could have gone with Tyler Lockett. I was really close to taking Tyler Lockett because I mean, how does a guy who finished in the top 15 in 4 of the last 4 years, 4 of the last 5 years, whatever it is, I don't have it in front of me, but how does he end up falling to that late in the draft? You know, I get.
Lockett has seen 4 seasons in a row of top 17 PPR.
Yeah, so that's crazy to me. I know I'm kind of spitting numbers out at the top of my head, but at least I'm close, you know.
No,
But
you are. And people are so scared to draft Tyler Lockett because Russell Wilson's there. I mean, hey, going from Russell Wilson to Drew Lock is a massive downgrade. But to your point, 4 top 17 seasons. How far do you think he's going to fall? Like, he's still probably a safe lock at worst. At worst, he's a top 30 player, right? But that's going to come with week winning weeks essentially, right? Like he's going to have some games where he's seeing 20, 25, maybe even 30 points. That's what we know with Tyler Lockett, right? He's either going to go out and get you a ton or he's going to lay a brick and get you like 5 or 6 points. Like that's what it is when you draft Tyler Lockett. So when you're looking at that argument, like, okay, fine, I get him going kind of this late, but at the same time, like 4 top 17 seasons in a row and he's fallen to the 12th. That's kind of stupid. He's only 29, right? It's not young. He's not young, but he still has another 1 to 3 seasons ahead of him where he can still, even with Drew Lock, perform as a top 25 wide receiver.
it's absurd to me to see Alec Pierce, to see Robert Woods, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Mecole Hardman in the same conversation as Tyler Lockett. You know, and it's funny because this is actually my little brother who took him. I texted him when he was on the clock. I was like, dude, Tyler Lockett's still there. And it's like I don't, if anybody, like, he's not gonna fall back to me, so I might as well help my little brother out and shout him out there. And I think that was a good one for him.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. to your point, I know you said you almost took Cole Kmet. I would have personally taken Cole Kmet over Dawson Knox just because of the target share that I think he's going to see. Dawson Knox is he's talented for sure, but he's in a very crowded offense suddenly, right? With Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. They just brought in James Cook, who is really good out of the backfield. They have a slew of wide receivers that they like there. I know they drafted what's his name, Khalil Shakir or Shakir Khalil. I don't remember the order, but I'm pretty sure that's his name. Isaiah McKenzie. So it's pretty heavy there. And Dawson Knox, he's probably going to be the red zone guy, right? But I think he's going to be the tight end that's going to be pretty tight end dependent most weeks. Like he kind of shakes me as the tight end that's going to go out there most weeks, maybe 20 to 40 yards, 3 or 4 catches, how it gets you a modest 6 to 8 points at the tight end position. Again, not the end of the world, but I think we're going to need to see touchdowns out of him to be relevant. However, he's your backup behind Kyle Pitts. Like how often are you actually going to start Dawson Knox? So I don't hate the pick there at all for you.
Yeah, I think it came down to the fact that he is in the better offense, and we did see a lot of bright spots out of Dawson Knox last year as a young tight end. I mean, I would say he's probably a top 12 dynasty tight end at this point. I would think, with his age and just the fact that he's shown some production. There's not a lot of young tight ends that have flashed. Other than really just Dawson Knox and Cole Kmet, Pat Freiermuth. Really, they're some of the only ones I can really think of off the top of my head. I mean, I guess Gesicki. Yeah, maybe I just talked out of my ass there a little bit, but
no, Dawson Knox. I mean, you got him as the 12th overall tight end on the board. You're not far off at all.
So I guess I was perfectly right there. Yeah, but I mean, I think he's one of the better young tight ends, and I think him and Cole Kmet are pretty comparable. But I think Dawson Knox is just in a much better offense. He's going to get a lot more red zone opportunities. For all we know, the Chicago offense, even with a new coaching staff, could just, poop the bed. Really, again, for lack of a better term.
Bed. I love it. All right. So scrolling through, we already talked about, I know these weren't your picks, but they were ones you traded away. Jalen Hurts and Derek Carr. In the 13th and 14th round, I mean, even in one quarterback leagues, those are good. But again, the payoff that you got in those trades, I'm not going to sweat losing out on those guys, especially we'll skip down a little bit since we're talking about quarterbacks. You got Kirk Cousins. Like you said, you had Baker Mayfield, then you didn't have Baker Mayfield, then you have Baker Mayfield again. I think this is a really good tandem, right? It's kind of the perfect mix of safety and upside. Kirk Cousins is a yearly quarterback one, and nobody really puts a lot of respect on his name. He's got Justin Jefferson. He's got Adam Thielen. He's got Dalvin Cook. He's got Alexander Madison. He's got what's his face? KJ Osborne, who was actually pretty good. Ihmir Smith-Marsette, or however you say his name. Like the Vikings have a half decent arsenal, and to be led by Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, which is, despite Adam Thielen's age, I mean, they're still at least a top 8 wide receiver duo in the NFL right now. So Kirk Cousins in the 18th round as your QB1. That's pretty damn good, and then to kind of supplement him with Baker Mayfield. Yeah, Baker could be one and done in Carolina, or he could answer the prayers and be signed long-term. And suddenly you got Baker Mayfield tied to DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey for the next few years. So in the 21st round, I love that for you. So your quarterback tandem, although it's you probably have one of the quote unquote worst starting quarterbacks in this league, if I had to guess. But it's still not bad because you still have a top 12 quarterback, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah, and I mean, I think just like we talked about earlier, seeing some of the investments that some of these other guys made. I mean, am I taking Kirk Cousins in the whatever round that is, the 19th round, and Baker Mayfield in the 23rd? I can't see the numbers from
18 and 21.
Yeah, but so yeah, you get the point, right? Am I taking those two guys at 18 and 21, or am I taking Mahomes in the 3rd round, Josh Allen in the 2nd round? Like I'm going with the Kirk Cousins in one quarterback every single day. I'm going with the Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield at the end of the draft, and I'll figure the rest out later, especially when I have that positional advantage in Kyle Pitts. I feel like it's almost even less important to be going after one of those top quarterbacks.
Yeah, and for those of you that only play in super flex leagues, one, that's perfectly fine. I actually personally like one quarterback leagues a bit more. I wish quarterbacks were valued a bit more without having to actually start 2 of them, just because like when you're in a 12-man league, and everyone has at least two quarterbacks, it just, I don't know, it just kind of gets a little messy in my opinion. There's got to be a way that we can fix quarterbacks in one QB to make them relevant. But as it stands, quarterbacks are probably the least relevant position in one QB leagues. So settling for a guy like Kirk Cousins is perfectly acceptable, perfectly fine, and actually one of the things that I would recommend doing in those one quarterback startups. So hats off to you. I think this was a really good strategy that you went. But we'll go back to your other guys here. So the 15th, 16th, and 17th round took a trio of running backs to kind of build up your running back room, get some depth there. Rashad Penny, Melvin Gordon, JD McKissick. All three of those guys can be top 30 running backs. I would say Penny, if he stays healthy, could be a top 18 running back. JD McKissick, if he stays healthy, could be a top 24 running back. And Melvin Gordon finished as RB21, if I remember correctly, in a 50-50 timeshare with Javonte. It's not going to be 50-50, but he's still probably going to see at least a 40% share. That's perfectly fine for him to be, like a top 30, top 32 running back in the short term. This is all the depth that you need. Like, seriously, it's not young. You're not going to be able to grow with this core. But it's all you need for at least the next year or two. And that's perfectly fine, especially with the amount of 2023 firsts that you have in the arsenal.
But like you said, I mean, I know you said it's not young, but I look at these handcuffs. I mean, Kareem Hunt's 26, Rashad Penny's 26, Marlon Mack is also 26. I mean, I have three guys that are really in their prime running back ages that we know are talented. I mean, Marlon Mack, I think he was a top 20 running back or 24 running back when he got the full-time share in Indianapolis. He's probably going to be getting the lion's share of those targets in Houston this year as well. So I think those three guys specifically, I could hold on to for the next two, possibly even 3 years, maybe, with a guy like Kareem Hunt, who's so good out of the backfield. And I mean, even then, like you said, Melvin Gordon, RB21 last year in a timeshare. J.D. McKissick had 100 targets just a year ago. So, yeah, I really couldn't have asked for better depth pieces to fall to me. Maybe I would have been happy, maybe like Tony Pollard. I really love Tony Pollard as a handcuff. He went way earlier.
Yeah, 11-1. I mean, I guess it's fair value for Pollard, but I'm probably not going out of my way to pay that cost.
Yeah, I mean, I like the reports coming out of camp. I think we talked about it in one of our last videos where that he's going to get some slot reps. But yeah, I couldn't have been any happier with the depth pieces that I have. And I mean, this is also a 6-point passing touchdown league. So when you think about it, like Kirk Cousins versus Jalen Hurts, it's probably a lot closer than regular 4-point passing touchdown leagues as well. So pretty happy with how it turned out in the later rounds as well.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that this was a 6-point league. Yeah, I mean, dude, Kirk Cousins, the last 2 years, he's combined for 68 touchdowns. Most quarterbacks do not routinely throw for 30-plus touchdowns, and he's done it 3 of the last 4 years. Pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. So, yeah, I think you absolutely crushed it. And then, obviously, before we wrap up this video, we got to talk about wide receiver extraordinaire Tim Patrick, right? I love Tim Patrick. I think that he's been the top performing wide receiver the last 2 years statistically in Denver. I think that he's not a spectacular player, but he is one of the few wide receivers in the entire league that he doesn't take a route off. He is consistently blocking. He's consistently running through his guys. He's consistently going up there, making those red zone plays. Like, Tim Patrick is what John Madden would call a nice football guy, right? And he is always going to have a role. I think Russell Wilson is actually going to love Tim Patrick a lot. And if something happens to Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick is going to be a weekly, top 36, top 40 wide receiver if he gets that kind of opportunity. And even if Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy both manage to stay healthy all year, which I don't think is going to happen, we haven't seen it yet. But even if they did manage to stay healthy all year, I would not be the least bit surprised to see Tim Patrick at least competing for the highest targeted red zone player in that offense. I think he's going to have a nice role carved out for him. He's proved it to this Denver team. And yeah, there's no reason to think that he's not a screaming value in the 19th round.
Yeah, so like you said, John Madden would call him like a really good football guy. I mean, I think he's probably one of the most professionally sound receivers on in that room. He's not the flashiest, but like you said, I think Russell Wilson could very easily take a liking to him, especially in the red zone. And that was also one of the things I really liked about getting Melvin Gordon too. Is Melvin Gordon got like literally all the touchdown reps, all the goal line reps last year.
Yeah, like looking at Tim Patrick's scoring last year, he had, let's see how many games, 12 or more points in PPR, which is very good for a 19th round wide receiver, right? He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's got 8 games out of 16 where he scored 12 or more PPR points. And essentially, like nobody's going to be using Tim Patrick as an every week starter, right? But having that as a flex guy or your super, like he's literally the farthest back wide receiver on your depth chart, and he can easily fill in on a week's notice for you. Like I love that value. I really do.
Yeah, it was hard to complain about it. And like you said, I mean, Marlon Mack. Well, I mean, you didn't talk about Marlon Mack. But I like talking about Marlon Mack. I mean, just the easiest path to targets there in Houston. And like we said, these guys are young, 26. Tim Patrick is a guy who, in the beginning of the season, I could easily like get a lot of value. You could see a lot of production. I could trade him off really easily. So feel really good about it.
Sweet. Well, I'm glad we got to review this. And before we go, I have a quick idea. It's a lightning round. We're not even going to explain our picks. We're just going to say our guys. Okay. We're going to go round by round and just say a name who the biggest steal of the round was. All right. So I'll go, then you go, and we'll just go round by round. First round, Christian McCaffrey at 1.9 and 1 QB. That's asinine.
Second round, I'm going to go with Joe Mixon, actually.
Joe Mixon at 208 is pretty awesome. I love that.
I think he should have gone ahead of Eckler and maybe even Devontae.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, actually, I'm a big Eckler guy, but still, either way. Next round, I'm going, even though it's the beginning of the round, T. Higgins at 302. I haven't shied away between telling everyone that he's a top 3 dynasty wide receiver, getting that at 302. Count me in.
I think the third round, actually, I just had to say, I think Mark Andrews falling here was huge.
I almost picked him too. Mark Andrews and T. Higgins are both wildly underrated in dynasty right now.
Then if I have to pick the fourth round, I'm going with ETN at the back end. I think he should have been the first running back taken in this round easily.
Yep, I agree with that one. Fifth round, we're probably going to agree. You getting Chris Godwin at 5.4, that's stupid to me. You can make an argument for Mike Evans at 5.9 as well with how consistent he is, but I think the youth, the upside, everything with Chris Godwin at 5.4, I love that.
Yeah, and I almost went with Mike Evans at the 508 too, but I had to go with Monty. I couldn't take Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. That was a bit big of an investment.
That's fair.
Then I think sixth round. Again, I hate to say it, but I think it's me again with Treylon Burks at the very last pick. I would take him over just about any receiver pretty much any receiver in this round.
I would say the same. Seventh round, I'm probably going to go Garrett Wilson. He was very highly argued for overall wide receiver 1 of the 2022 rookie class. Don't love the situation, but love the talent. Getting him at 7.5, that's a steal.
So I think Kenny Walker could have been in that conversation, but I like Garrett Wilson too. So then when we go to, this is what, the 8th round?
There's only one right answer. Please get it right. Actually, there's 2 right answers, but
yeah, no,
actually there's 3. Never mind. There's so many good ones in this round.
It's Jameson Williams to me. I killed it. I can't argue. It's Jameson Williams.
My initial response was actually going to be Hunter Renfrow, and then I saw Brandon Cooks. And I was like, damn, that's even better. And then I remembered Jameson Williams. Damn, that's even better. So a lot of steals in your draft in round 8. So that's fun for all of you guys.
And Hunter Renfrow and Brandon Cooks were guys who I was actually planning on taking with that Jameson Williams pick, but JMO was still there. So I had no choice.
Yeah, I like it. Round 9, I'm going to give it to Pat Freiermuth. He is he's already in the top 10 for most dynasty rankings for the tight end. Looks like they got him as the tight end 7 or 8 here. I still think that's pretty good value. It's pretty late to get a guy like that who has that amount of upside. So Pat F 9.7, pretty good.
Love that one. I love that one. In the 10th round, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I know he went early.
Wow.
I think, compared to these other guys, he's got the most upside. I know he's played hurt the last couple seasons, but when he has played, he hasn't been bad at all. He was like a top 15 running back his rookie year, and I don't think there's much stopping him. I don't think Ronald Jones is really going to get in his way from really blowing up and really taking a big step in production in that offense.
All right, fair point. I probably would have gone with Ayuk, but really, with Clyde Edwards-Helaire being a potential or a starting running back in arguably the best offense in football, not bad at 10-2. My guy for the 11th round is Michael Gallup. I don't care that he's going to start the year injured. He's going to miss the first, 3 to 5 games probably. We've seen Michael Gallup have a 1,000-yard season before in a crowded offense. He's not going to be the wide receiver 2. He's got Dak Prescott. I really like Michael Gallup at 11.6. I think that's fantastic value.
And how crazy is it that Jalen Tolbert went before Michael Gallup?
That is insane to me. I like Jalen Tolbert, I do, but not more than Michael Gallup by any stretch of the imagination. I also really like David Bell at 11.3, but again, Michael Gallup's there. Like that's my guy.
That Jalen Tolbert pick feels like he just liked the name and he was like, I'm going after him. Kind of like how Calvin Ridley was for me in like the 9th. I was like, I like the name, I'm going after him. All right, so where are we at here?
12th round here.
12th round. For me, Ty Lockett. We talked about it before. Consecutive top 17 seasons last 4 years. No question.
Yeah, I don't hate that pick. I'm gonna kind of be that guy. I'm gonna pick a quarterback and one QB here. Jalen Hurts in the 13th round just seems so stupid to me. He's got top 5 quarterback upside, and I'm not talking like loose top 5 quarterback. Like he's legitimate top 5 quarterback upside. Could potentially finish as a top 3 quarterback if he puts everything together. His situation has improved drastically. His running ability is obviously there. I hate to say it because I hate really favoring QBs and one QB, but Jalen Hurts in the 13th, that's a steal.
Yeah, I saw him keep all the quarterbacks just keep falling and falling and falling down the board. And then, of course, the whole slew of them comes when I don't have my 13th and 14th. Yeah. Right? So that kind of bit me. But, like we said before, 6-point passing touchdown. I think Kirk Cousins is a lot closer to Jalen Hurts than in a regular 4-point passing touchdown.
Yeah, that's a fine pick for you.
So now we're looking
14th
round. Ooh. I would say Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford still got, years left on. He's still got 3-4 years left, before he's really out of there. He's going to be a top 5 guy for the foreseeable future. They just keep loading up that Rams team, and they're not going to get any worse anytime soon. So I like Matt Stafford there, and not to piggyback off you picking quarterbacks, but there was a couple of them in that round.
No, dude, he's only 34. He's got plenty of career left in him, and 6-point touchdowns, 41 touchdowns last year. Like that number is going to come down. It's pretty obvious. He's not going to throw for 40 touchdowns again, but then again, he could, so who knows? But still really good pick there. Moving on to the 15th round, and it's kind of funny because I want to say the answer is no one. I don't think anyone's necessarily a steal here. I think everyone's pretty good value, but if I had to choose, it's somewhere between it's either Trey McBride or Rashad Penny. Trey McBride's a fantastic rookie tight end. He's not going to be like Kyle Pitts, but he could have I think he is eventually going to show the same upside that Pat Freiermuth shows. I don't think he's going to do it year 1, especially behind Zach Ertz on the depth chart, but McBride has a very similar skill set to a guy like Pat F. So I do like that. And then you getting Rashad Penny at 15.8, you almost called Kenny Walker a steal. And that's the only reason why I'm not really branding Rashad Penny a steal here is because Penny is very clearly going to be on a short leash and could become the RB2 in this offense pretty quick or get hurt like he always does. So I don't hate him at 15.8 at all. I think it's really good value, but I think I would lean Trey McBride as the steal of the round here.
How do you feel about Hunter Henry?
I don't feel.
You don't feel
he's fine. He's fine. I think he's good. He finished as a top 10 guy last year, but the difference between a a top 10 guy and a top 16 guy at the tight end position is like 12 points or something like that. And Hunter Henry is just always going to be in that range. He was so hyped up coming out as a rookie when he was in San Diego at the time, and then staying with the Chargers. Never really did anything spectacular. I mean, granted, I don't think he got to play with Justin Herbert very briefly, but yeah, I mean, Hunter Henry, he's good, not great, and I think tight end 8 is probably his ceiling. So it's not bad in the 15th round, but just not my cup of tea there. I would rather take the gamble on Trey McBride in his youth.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind that. Then I'm looking at the 16th, and if I wanted to be boring, I would pick myself again. But
I
actually,
would I would agree with you.
I just want to talk about somebody else here because I've talked about Melvin Gordon a lot. But I'm going to talk about Jameson Crowder going over to Buffalo. I know you said it's a crowded, but I mean Cole Beasley is.
And I said it was crowded, and I didn't even include him in the conversation. That's how crowded it is.
Yeah, I know, right? But I mean, I think Jameson Crowder could easily take over for that slot role that Cole Beasley.
Definitely,
in that offense.
definitely. No,
Six-
I'm sad that I forgot to bring him up when I was talking about that because Crowder is the slot guy there. He is the wide receiver, quote unquote wide receiver 3 there. He could potentially outscore Gabe Davis this year, and I don't think anyone would be surprised.
Yeah, not at all, actually.
So that's really good value at 16.8. The 17th round. I like Terrace Marshall, but he hasn't broken out yet, so I'm not going to pick him and be a homer. I think Darrell Henderson, actually. There's a very real chance that this backfield could be a lot closer of a split than people like to admit. And if Darrell Henderson, if Cam Akers could have the role that Javonte Williams has in Denver, and Darrell Henderson could have the role that Melvin Gordon has. And I think I would definitely rather have Javonte over Cam Akers. But Melvin Gordon and Darrell Henderson aren't too far off. And we both agreed Melvin Gordon was a really good steal in the 16th. I think with Cam Akers being a worse player than Javonte, and with Cam Akers fighting the injury stigma and coming back from a pretty gruesome injury, I really like Henderson as a deep dart throw running back here in the 17th.
Yeah, and I can't believe he fell this far compared to other handcuffs because I mean we all saw what he did last year. I mean he wasn't a slouch. He was a guy who, if you had him on your bench, he could have easily been a supporting role on a winning team. I mean I think he was like a third round rookie pick in rookie drafts, Darrell Henderson. So I think that's a big steal there, like you said. But I mean if you look back at where Cam Akers was drafted in this draft, I think it was like the late second round here, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, can't. Yep, 2-9.
Yeah, not with that. If you ask me, definitely taking Javonte over him. But yeah, if you're going to take I think he's got a really good chance, Darrell Henderson, to be in a timeshare there. So now I'm looking, I mean, out of all the quarterbacks, who do I like here the most? I mean, pretty obvious. I like Kirk Cousins, even over these guys for the next 3 years. If it was super flex, maybe, yeah, I would probably be taking Trevor Lawrence, maybe even Mac Jones over Kirk Cousins. But for the time being, since I'm only going to start with them and I can replace them pretty easily, I'm going Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, and we're really going to toot your horn here, but my pick in the 19th is going to be Tim Patrick, which is another one of your guys. I debated choosing Corey Davis, but I view Tim Patrick and Corey Davis kind of as one and the same. Obviously, Corey Davis was a lot highly sought after as a rookie. He was supposed to have a very good career arc. Obviously, never turned out that way for him, but they're very similar players. I think Corey Davis is slightly more talented, but I think Tim Patrick's in a significantly better situation. So I'm going to take Tim Patrick over Corey Davis. And 19.8, I think Tim Patrick's a great value.
And I'm looking at the 20th round, and I think Robbie Anderson. I mean, he's young, and his picture looks kind of like the Island Boys. Oh, he's not young. He's 29, but and he looks like one of the Island Boys. But yeah, he's put up 2 top 20 seasons, and he's getting an upgrade in quarterback with Baker Mayfield. So I guess the only other one I could have thought about was maybe like Nico Collins, maybe even Tyquan Thornton. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. I would agree though. Robbie Anderson there. I mean, he's one season removed from 1,000 yard season, and I've been saying this to everyone. I don't count the 2021 season against any of these Panthers players whatsoever. It was a total shit show. Coaching was terrible. Quarterback play was terrible. The offensive line was one of the worst Carolina's ever rolled out with, and they haven't had a good offensive line in a while. This year is going to be their first year with a quote unquote good offensive line in quite some time. I am very excited as a Panthers fan, but yeah, Robbie Anderson there, very good pick. And then the final round here, at the risk of sounding like a homer again, I know I keep bringing up these Panthers players, but Baker Mayfield is a starting quarterback for the first, at least for 1 year. And if he can put it together, he's going to have a starting job. Even if he doesn't stay in Carolina, he's going to land and have the ability to compete somewhere, right? Like if Mitch Trubisky can land with Pittsburgh and be competing with Kenny Pickett this year, Baker Mayfield can definitely land somewhere and compete for a starting role next year, I think. So I like that at the 21-8. It's I think it's good value. I do. And I would personally say it might be the only steal of this entire round. I mean, Ryan Tannehill going there is also pretty damn good, but he lost AJ Brown. Robert Woods is hurt. Derrick Henry is old and hurt. Like his top receiver being a rookie kind of scares the hell out of me a bit. KJ Hamler, not bad here at all. He's a good speedster, but again, very crowded offense in Denver. Kendrick Bourne is actually pretty interesting because he is essentially the wide receiver too in New England, but it is what it is there. So it's kind of hard not to label someone as a steal in the 21st round, but yeah, I'll go with Baker here.
Yeah, I mean, there's only really like two, three guys in that round that are going to put up more than one game with 5 points in fantasy this year. So, if any of them produce, it's your steal. But
Yeah, exactly.
so before we wrap this up, let me just ask: are there any recommendations that you have for me? What do you think maybe I should be looking to do with this team, or you think I should just be rolling into the season and sticking to this game plan?
Yeah, I really like what you did here. And you took a lot of risks in the draft, and somehow every single one of them paid off for you. I don't know how that happened. I don't know who in the league let this happen, but good for you, dude. I mean, you waited so long to take your top two running backs, landed them perfectly. I don't think you could have asked for a better tandem at running back without taking one before 508, right? You have a massive wide receiver room with endless upside. It's a good mix of upside too between younger and older guys, mostly younger guys too, which is the awesome thing. And then your running back room, it scares me longevity wise, right? Especially because Jacobs' situation is going to change as soon as next year. Monty's could change in the next year or two. Hunt, Penny, Gordon, McKissick, even Mac, they're all 26, 27, 28. I think Melvin Gordon's actually 29. So I think the thing for you is it's going to be recycling and finding some new running backs next year. But like you said, you have what, 3, 4 2023 first round picks, and I guarantee you at least one, if not two of them are going to be running backs. So I there's not a lot of times where I look at one of my friends' rosters and say, "Oh, dude, you got to do this, 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 and this," right? But this is one of those times where like you really don't have to do a hell of a lot with this roster. Just roll with what you got. When Godwin comes back, when Jameson Williams makes his debut, like this is going to be a pretty fun team to roll with.
Yeah, I'm thinking, like you said, I think some of that running back room is going to be replenished over the next 2 years. I mean, 4 first round picks in 2023 and then 2 first round picks in 2024. Granted, we don't really know what the 2024 class looks like much. At least I don't, outside of like Travion Henderson, really. I mean, I know it's probably going to be a strong class. I mean, there's been some reports, but I haven't really looked too much into it. But if I can find, one wide receiver one next year and one RB1 or one top 24 running back that's going to be perennial for me. I don't even have to hit on all those picks. I can be a really really tough team for the next couple of years because I mean most of my centerpieces they're none of them are really over 26, and that was kind of what I went for, and that was kind of why I decided to trade out of that early second round, the late third, early fourth round, was because those were a lot of the 28, 29-year-old guys that are really good redraft guys, but you might be looking to sell at the end of the season. So I don't know if I would be able to have gotten any better deals at the end of the season for those guys. I really don't think I would have in almost any world. But yeah, a lot of things fell really perfectly to me, and the only thing I could attribute it to would be just the amount of mocks that I had done and the research. I mean, that's what's going to get you ahead, and that's how you're going to know to feel comfortable trading back. When I put some of these trades out to Twitter and in certain other discords and stuff, they were telling me I was getting crushed when I was sending the startup picks in. The 105 and the 610, or the 105 and the 806 for the 108 and the 610. They told me I got crushed moving up 3 picks and moving back 2 rounds. Ended up working out pretty well for me in all those spots. So I'm happy with how it turned out, and I'm excited to make those rookie picks. I want 2023 to come as fast as it can, because it feels like I'm waiting for that to be my class to replenish so many of my dynasty teams. But yeah, I was glad to really get in and get through what really was pretty much a 0 RB hybrid team that ended up pretty young and I think pretty strong. I mean, by keep trade cut, when I typed in the league code, I was in first place in my power rankings by like 20 points out of 100. I mean, I had 99. Next highest was 81. So I think I did a good job. Keep trade cut thinks I did a good job. Mikey thinks I did a good job. So I'm happy.
Yeah, you did a good job. But like I said, I would have, if I was in those discords with you, I would have agreed and said you got crushed in a couple of those trades. But like I said, you took a lot of risks, and somehow every single one of them paid off for you. So hey, man, good for you. I wouldn't call myself risk averse, but I'm definitely a lot more risk averse than you. I would not have made half of those trades, but worked out really well. So you got to be pretty pumped with this team. But Ty, thanks for letting us take a look at this one. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to look at a real team for once, not just a mock draft. And, I guess you can kind of count this as a subscriber submission as well as co-host submission, whatever we want to call it. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. But for myself, for Tyler, and for that Dynasty show, we will catch you guys next time.
Thanks for watching.